Good evening and welcome to Current Issues. I'm your host, Hesham Tillawi. In this second hour, ladies and gentlemen, we will continue speaking with Doug Rokke, who is a military expert on depleted uranium. He was sent to the Gulf area during the first Gulf War, or after the first Gulf War, to clean up the mess that we have created during the depleted uranium, during the Gulf War, from the depleted uranium weapons that we had used. Now the question, ladies and gentlemen, you might ask if you watched us in the first hour, why are we bringing you this while other networks and other media outlets, they're not bringing you this? Well, it's exactly what Doug said in the first hour. There will be, the other networks are, number one, they are agenda driven. Number two, they have to cater to the establishment, something that we don't have to do. And you might wonder, why are we bringing you this? Well, number one, it's free speech. Number two, we live in a supposedly a democracy or a representative republic, whichever one you want to call it, but at least we live in a place where the citizens can and still exercise their right to freedom of speech. But ladies and gentlemen, when I moved into this country about 29 years ago, and I made this home, as most of you know that I'm an American citizen. I love this country. I'm raising my children in this country, and this is my country now. I'm not going anywhere. And I want to make sure that this country we live in stays the way it was when I immigrated to the country. It was the greatest country in the world. That's why I came over here. Now I'm seeing it literally going down the drain because of the policies that our government has. And because of these policies, actually, we are being looked upon throughout the world as the uncivilized cowboys who are basically going around the world killing people. Now, you might have the Pentagon. As a matter of fact, on the same station that you are watching us on, the Pentagon also has a show, and they tell you how good we are doing in Iraq. We are building schools, we are taking care of their electricity, we are taking care of their roads, we are taking care of their homes. But the truth of the matter is, ladies and gentlemen, these people had homes before we went there. They had schools before we went there, functioning schools. They had electricity before we went there. Now, all we have brought them is destruction. All we have brought to them is death. And this depleted uranium stuff, what you are looking at right now on the screen is a little boy playing on a tank that was destroyed with a depleted uranium shell. Now, you know this little boy, I don't know if he's still alive or not, but he has come in contact with, direct contact with depleted uranium. We have shown you the pictures on the screen of Iraqi kids, Iraqi children being born without arms or deformed faces or deformed, their bodies are deformed. Imagine. And also, as you heard Doug speak, and we have shown you some pictures here in the past of American kids being born with these deformities. This is exactly, ladies and gentlemen, what we are talking about. This is what you are looking at now, is an Iraqi child who was born deformed because of the depleted uranium. And this is going to go on for God knows how many years. We have done this. We cannot run away from it. It's our bullets, it's our shells, it's our policy, it's our airplanes, it's our tanks, it's our men that had fired these guns and these weapons. We have to live with it as a country. Doug, we'll come back to the program, sir.
Thank you.
Doug, I want to know, what about, I mean, the people that are making these weapons, are they in any way responsible for this mess that we are in?
Well, obviously, yes. But again, they're made and manufactured by the U.S. military. They're Department of Defense contractors. As far back as 1981, Aerojet that manufactures uranium munitions in Tennessee, they were seeing all the adverse health and environmental effects, all the serious adverse health problems in the employees of the plant at Aerojet. And 60 Minutes did a major story on it back in 1981 called On Strike for Their Lives, and we've continued ever since. We have a community called Concord, Massachusetts. And you probably have learned your American history, but Concord, Massachusetts is where our nation was born on the 18th of April in 1775. Paul Revere and the Minutemen, the British. And that community is totally trashed because of the manufacturing and testing of uranium munitions. Horrible health effects in that community. And today it's a Superfund site where they're trying to get it cleaned up, but again, virtually you can't clean it up. So you have the problems all over. Again, it's very simple. When you deliberately take thousands of tons of radioactive toxic materials, disperse it in the environment, knowing perfectly well that it contaminates air, water, and soil, that there virtually is no way to clean it up, and then you refuse to provide prompt and effective medical care even though it's very limited in its effectiveness, you've created a problem. And it's wrong. It's simply wrong.
Do you know if anyone is suing these manufacturers or the Department of Defense?
You can't sue. That's what I was just explaining. With the Ferris Doctrine, you cannot sue. They are beyond the law. They are above all laws. The only thing we can do, and this is the reason why I wrote the regulations and the orders and the procedures to clean it up and ensure medical care was provided, is that all you can do is basically go and ask them like a child asking a father, take care of me, please. And they have the choice to do it or not. I mean, you have to understand, today, over 500,000 of our sons and daughters are affected from Gulf War illness and all the effects of combat in the last few years. That's from Gulf War I and Gulf War II alone. We have hundreds of thousands affected from Agent Orange in the Vietnam era. Again, I got zapped by that originally. And the Department of Defense and Department of Veteran Affairs has virtually walked away.
And you said that our soldiers cannot sue.
That's correct. They cannot sue anybody.
Now,
that was a brand new recent court decision with a federal court in New York because the members of the 442nd U.S. Army National Guard unit from New York, military police unit, got all exposed and affected and are sick, children born with birth defects and the spouses affected. And so they tried to get medical care first and according with the orders and regulations, and they were denied. So then they went to federal court. And the decision was that Ferris is applicable and they can't sue. Now, the judge did rule that the improper, ineffective medical care provided by the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs physicians once they were discharged from the military, that they can sue on that grounds for negligence. Now, the military has never denied that their own negligence. They just have absolved themselves of responsibility and all liability for their negligence. That's what Ferris does.
What about people in other countries? Do you know if any people in other countries are suing?
How do you sue?
I don't know. Go through the international court?
Well, I mean, we've had international court hearings and all that stuff in The Hague and all over the place, and they've ruled that this is illegal and that individuals will be held liable, but so what?
Yeah, who's going to enforce the decision?
Yeah, I mean, with the President of the United States doesn't enforce our own laws and does all kinds of things illegal and found, in violation of, human rights by the U.S. Supreme Court, and nothing happens.
Our liability Do we even have enough money in the country to cover our liability from
No.
this big mess that we're in?
You couldn't even clean up the highway of death, which happened outside of Basra in Iraq from Gulf War I alone. It's virtually impossible. And see, this is the reason. Once we put all the reports together, we did all the analysis, we did all the research, we verified what needed to be done, we developed the procedures, and then we realized from firsthand experience that it can't be done. That's where I, as a senior Army officer, the director of the Depleted Uranium Project for the U.S. Army, told them they could no longer use it in combat. It was very clear to me that the use of uranium munitions could not be justified under any stretch of the imagination. And
now,
boy,
we
they
still
didn't like
have
that.
tons or hundreds of thousands of tons of this stuff, don't we?
Well, yes, and we continue to manufacture and use it. Because you got to remember, for every 100 pounds that goes in the uranium enrichment process, over 99 pounds comes out of pure waste, and that's chemical compound is actually uranium hexafluoride, which is then processed into what's called depleted uranium munitions.
Right. So we have plenty of this stuff, and we are selling it to other countries too, right?
Oh yeah, anybody that buys our weapon system gets it for free.
Wow.
And I mean, we just gave it to Israel, the bunker busters, the tank rounds, the cluster bombs, and they used it extensively.
So what are you saying? We're not the civilized country that we claim to be?
In this instance, that is correct.
Where do we go from there? How can we? What are you fighting, Doug? I mean, since what you're telling me, there's nothing anyone can do. So why are you fighting?
Well, what we're doing is trying to ensure that the United States Department of Defense officials, Department of Veteran Affairs, Department of Energy comply with their own orders and regulations that already mandate cleaning up all the contamination and provide medical care for all the casualties. It's that simple. And at the same time, that we immediately stop the use of the illegal uranium munitions. It's that simple. We just do it.
But now you know it could not be done. You know we could not clean up this mess that we are in. You know it's impossible to happen.
Well, what we have to do, and again, this is where I developed the procedures, and they're in place, we have to do what we can to mitigate the effects. We can never thoroughly clean it up, but we have to do what's possible. Okay? We have to do that. We can't just abandon whole areas of the nation, of the world, because of this use of this stuff. It's not possible.
Tell me about your own health now. What's going on with you?
Well, yeah, that's been a nasty effect on all of my friends, too. But again, this is not about me. This is about the United States complying with their own requirements and stopping the use of illegal uranium munitions.
I understand that, but you were also affected personally by this. Tell me about your own health.
Well, within the first 24 hours when I was assigned to clean this up by General Schwarzkopf, we started with the respiratory problems and the rashes, which have never gone away. You can probably hear my breathing now. So it's always been messed up. And from there, members of my team, the first cancers developed in the throat within about 9 months, the first deaths from lung cancer within 2 years, neurological effects, decalcification of the bone, the teeth, all the eye problems, kidney problems. I've had I don't know how many 20 kidney surgeries. They did recently eye surgery to repair my left eye so I could see again. And again, that's thoroughly confirmed by Colonel Wakayama in his briefing to the leadership of the Pentagon prior to start of Gulf War II. We're having all kinds of things, continuous birth defects being born, children born with birth defects. We're seeing all of the leukemias. We're seeing all kinds of health effects. Because you have to understand, the uranium, you have chemical toxicity, you have radiological particulate. So it affects the entire systems. It's not just one system that's affected. It's a horrible effect. Plus, you have all the additional toxic materials that are released during combat that individuals are exposed to. I mean, we destroy a nation's infrastructure, releasing all kinds of toxic chemicals, biologicals, radiological materials, contaminate air, water, and soil. We don't bother to clean it up. We walk away, and then we wonder why we have such horrible casualties. I mean, you have to understand, the United States Department of Veteran Affairs formally acknowledges in their reports that the death count, combined death count for Gulf War I and Gulf War II is over 16,000. Not 2,600 and not 200, over 16,000, and that was back on May 30th. They thoroughly acknowledged the number of individuals that applied for permanent disability and medical care with the VA. is now over 400,000.
Any of them from the Iraq War?
Oh yeah, a lot. We've got. I mean, it's easy to do. Just do the subtraction. Gulf War II. Right now, we're looking at way over 150,000 and way over probably close to 5,000 dead.
So you're saying 150,000 from? Okay,
I'm
not understanding.
Gulf War II alone.
How many cases do we have from Iraq?
Well, that's what they're from.
150,000?
Correct.
Wow.
I mean, that's in the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs formal reports. I mean, you can go to www.va.gov, and then once you get there, type in the letters in the search block, GWVIS. That'll give you a list of documents, and then you type GWVI, pull up GWVIS for May of 2006. There should be a new one coming out any time. And then you'll actually get the compensation, the pension statistic, the data, the true casualty data.
So the information is there. We just need to go and dig for it.
Correct. You just need to know where it is, and then you need to know how to read it. In the military, when we plan military action, we have different casualty categories. One we have is called wounded in action. These are the individuals that are shot by the enemy, okay, in direct combat, shot or blown up, okay, whatever you have. Then you have those that are killed in action, again, shot or blown up, direct enemy contact. Then you have the majority of the casualties, over 70%, are what's called disease and non-battle injury. Okay, these are individuals that didn't get shot or blown up by the enemy, but something else happened. And within the disease and non-battle injury, you have both those that lived and those that died. So when you look at Gulf War I alone, you know, the death numbers that actually died in that was about 300, okay? We're now over 12,000.
My goodness.
And
Doug,
we had total less than, and for all of Gulf War I, we had a total number of less than 1,000 casualties. And today it's well over 250,000 casualties with over 12,000 dead. That's reality. And that's in the VA statistics when you look at it.
Congress passed a bill yesterday, the habeas corpus bill, and I believe the president signed it, or he's in the process of signing it, which basically will allow the government to arrest people that they don't like and put them in jail without a reason, without a cause. As you know, it says in the Constitution that you are supposed to show a cause before you arrest people. But now the government can go in and arrest those that they don't like. Are you worried at all about this particular bill?
Well, I mean, suspension habeas corpus goes back, you know, Abraham Lincoln did it during the Civil War. So, I mean, that's nothing new. I mean, they can declare martial law, suspend habeas corpus pretty much any time they want to. I mean, so, yeah, but, you know, again, we have to speak out. Whenever we see stuff, you have to understand, if somebody violates and breaks the law for real, if somebody is a viable threat against our nation or anybody, then we have to take action, okay? But too often, people get scared and they allow all this stuff to happen, and they give up their rights. They give up their civil rights or give up their constitutional Bill of Rights, you know, the stuff in the Bill of Rights for a little bit of security. I mean, Benjamin Franklin said it way back years ago. Those that are willing to give up freedom for a little bit of security deserve neither freedom nor security. You know, he's probably one of the greatest statesmen in the history of the world.
Okay.
Ben Franklin, you understand that, right?
Yes. Now, tell me, what are you doing now to spread the word? Are you on a speaking tour? Do you have any books?
Well, you know, we're continuously working with, you know, writing newspaper stories, magazine articles. We're doing TV programs, you know, again, not some of the primary, but mostly it's secondary journalism or stations. We're continuously doing radio shows, you know, whatever we can. Continuously working with the military, trying to get it done, taking care of it, trying to get the military to comply with their own requirements. I call them all the time. I call the Secretary of Defense all the time. All I have to do is breathe on the phone, man. Well, hi, Doug.
Okay. Doug, I promise I'll keep you for only 10 more minutes. In the meantime, we're going to go to a break, and once we get back, as promised, I won't keep you for the rest of the hour. So we will be right back.
Let's take some phone calls.
program, ladies and gentlemen. We are speaking with Doug Rokke. Actually, I was just told that we are not on the internet because anytime we have an important guest to speak about important subject, always something happens to the internet. So for all our viewers around the country, we will have the show archived later on, and you will be able to see it on the website. Just go to our website, www.currentissues.tv, and you will be able to see the program on the internet. So we apologize that our internet broadcast is down. We are trying to see. This happened about 3 or 4 times. Every time we have someone that has something important to say. Doug, now I was asking you if what you guys are doing. Is this like the depleted uranium thing? Is it a movement, or is it just few guys trying to make a difference?
Well, there's a whole group. I mean, people all over the world from all walks of life are working and helping. I mean, you know, from everybody is trying to help. But again,
how strong is it in the United States?
Well, I mean, different groups and everything else, yeah, they're out there. I mean, we have to look at this stuff. We're having state after state pass laws mandating medical care and environmental cleanup. That's incredible. That's incredible. It's not just 1 or 2. We've got probably close to a dozen now. That's an incredible event in action. And that's happened because the leaders and the governors and of each state have recognized that the federal government and the leaders of the federal government have failed to comply with their own requirements.
As a matter of fact, I'm very proud that Louisiana, the state we are in, was the first one in the union to actually enact laws to test returning soldiers.
And that was shepherded through your Louisiana legislature by Command Sergeant Major Bob Smith, one of the great heroes of the U.S. military and great heroes of the Green Berets during Vietnam.
Yes. Yes,
I mean,
definitely.
You have to understand, the man that shepherded through there is an ungodly patriot and a real American hero. I mean, he makes John Wayne look, you know, in the Green Berets. I mean, this is the real guy.
Doug, tell me what can our viewers do?
What everybody needs to do is they need to contact all of their legislators. Doesn't matter whether they're in the community, because you have to understand, this comes back and affects the community. They have to have the mayors. They have to have all their city council members. They have to have the members of the state legislature. They have to have their members of Congress, their U.S. senators. They need to contact every single one of them and ask them to ensure that the leaders of the Department of Defense, Department of Energy, Department of Veterans Affairs clean up all the contamination as they're required to do by Army regulations and federal law. They provide medical care to all the casualties. They have to provide medical care not only to the U.S. military personnel that are affected, but their family members, but all the coalition forces that work with us that have been affected because of our use of it. And they have to provide that same medical care absolutely on Geneva Convention, our own federal laws and regulations, to the enemy combatants that we now take care of. And then it has to provide it to all the civilians, all the non-combatants, the women and children and the men of the world. It's that simple. We're not asking the government to do something they're not already required to do. We're asking them to do what's right.
Okay. Doug, I just want to say thank you for coming on the program. It has been a pleasure having you on.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
And, I mean, the best website for people to get information
is
www.traprock, TRAPROCKPEACE.org. And that's the Trap Rock Peace Center at Woolman Hill, the Quaker Center in Deerfield, Massachusetts. Incredible people. I mean, most, you know, in the country, in the world, you know, the Quakers are known for all of the peace work that they've done for, you know, for eternity.
Doug, go ahead and give out that website again.
Yes, it's www.traprock, TRAPROCKPEACE.org.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
And then, you know, another group that's done incredible work is Voices in the Wilderness under Kathy Kelly.
Yes, I know Kathy very well.
You know, and I hope Kathy Kelly is finally selected for the Nobel Peace Prize this year. That would be one of the finest things that could ever happen.
She should be. Yes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it all falls back in your lap. This is a representative government, represents you, and it's up to you to change it or not.
Please enter your destination number followed by the pound key.
Okay. So, it all falls back into your lap, like I said, and you've got to do something about it. I don't know if you have to. Maybe you just don't want to. Maybe you don't know what to do. But the first thing that you need to do is be educated. Get yourself an education. I don't mean by going to school. I mean by going on the internet. If you don't have internet, I don't know. It's tough these days if you don't have internet to get the truth. Because the internet will, if you don't get the truth from the internet, at least you have a different opinion. At least you will have a different opinion on what's going on in the country and in the world. What are we doing in the world? Is Doug and people like him who speak against what the government is doing and has done, are they any less patriotic than someone who is 24 hours saying, "Long live George Bush"? I don't think so. I think the one that's saying, "Long live George Bush," I don't want to insult anyone out there, but you probably need to get an education. Teach yourself. Go on the internet and find out the truth. Find out what we're doing in Iraq. Find out exactly who's profiting from the war in Iraq. Find out about this warmongering that we are after and who's behind it. Who's pushing our buttons? You know, it's all in your hand because we do have an election coming up. And we have got, I'm not endorsing anyone here. Even though I have in our local election here, I have heard the congressional candidates. And to tell you the truth, the one in office right now, I am not too proud of him. Because he's nothing but a rubber stamp for what's going on in Washington. And of course, we have a lot of these rubber stamps in Washington. You know, if this country is being protected by people like Mark Foley of Florida, we're in trouble. We are in big, big trouble. If we cannot trust these people with our own sons and daughters, how in the world can we trust them running our futures and running the future of our sons and daughters? It's all in your hand. And it's not anti-American if you do speak against the policies of the government. As a matter of fact, you will, in a democracy, you can effect a change. You can actually accomplish something that you do not accomplish in a totalitarian regime, in a dictatorship regimes, which we're very much heading towards that very, very quickly. They are taking our freedoms away. That is definitely the case. You know what they are doing, and with this habeas corpus that they had basically allowed the government or gave the government permission to arrest anyone they want without even saying why they arrested him. And that's going to scare a lot of people away. That's going to scare people like me, like Doug, like a lot of people in the truth movement. And then we become nothing but the Soviet Union again. Is it strange that we are basically enacting the Soviet Union's laws and regulations. You know, we used to call the Soviet Union the Iron Curtain. We used to call them the people behind the Iron Curtain. Well, they're not behind the Iron Curtain anymore, because after the fall of the Soviet Union, that Iron Curtain was pulled down. But it was not destroyed, though. We brought it over here, and we installed it right on our shores. That way we can see what's going on in the world, and we don't want the world to see what's going on in here. You know, I had a picture, but I don't think we have it. I just thought about it, and it should have been in our graphics. It's a picture of the Newsweek front page, or cover page, actually. The United States edition had a very nice looking woman and her daughter, and something about life. It was so beautiful. But their international edition, though, the one they have in China, Europe, it was totally different color. It had a Taliban with a rocket launcher on his shoulder, and the title said, Afghanistan lost, or are we losing Afghanistan? That's the Newsweek cover that was published in the same week. The same material, the same cover, the same magazine. They had a different cover page for us here in the States, and another cover page for people in the rest of the world. Because the rest of the world knows the truth. That's why. That's why they had on our cover page, they had this nice looking woman with her baby and dealing with something about life, how good life is in the United States, or something like that. Don't quote me on that. Go in there and see it yourself. As a matter of fact, you can go and see it on the MSNBC website, because Newsweek and MSNBC, they're the same company. But then the international edition, having that Taliban with the turban and the shoulder fire rocket. And are we losing Afghanistan? I don't know. Actually, we never gained Afghanistan. But the point I'm trying to make here is the whole world knows, and they keep that stuff away from us. The Iron Curtain that was destroyed when the Soviet Union fell, we brought it over here, and we made it even higher, that our people don't even know what's going on in the world. They make it look like that we are so good here. They don't tell you what other people in the world think about us here. The other people in the world, let me tell you how other people in the world see us. They see us killing babies. They see us using depleted uranium. They see us just this horrible image. But it was never like that before. It was never like that before. You know, America the Great, America needs to go back and become the great. But to tell you the truth, from what I'm seeing, from the position I'm standing, I'm seeing horrible scenes. I don't really know if we can really stop and go back to before 9/11. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we really did not have enemies on September 11th, 2001. Not enemies like we have now. Yes, we do have enemies now. Yes, we have to deal with them now. Let me go to the phones and speak with Ramsey. Go ahead, Ramsey.
Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Is your guest still there?
No, unfortunately, we waited for you, but I don't know what happened to you. He was here for an hour and a half.
Oh, well, I just got in, sorry.
Oh, you just got in, okay. As a matter of fact, we were wondering, I thought if anyone would call, it will be you, but no, he was with us in the first hour, and actually he just left about 10 minutes ago. We were talking about, of course, the depleted uranium and what we have done in Iraq and Afghanistan. Do you have any thoughts on it?
Well, so my question was like, if you knew information about Israel's use of uranium and other countries using it, but
yes, well, he did mention that we did give that weapon to Israel, and Israel did use it. Actually, Israel used it back in 1973, and they used it throughout the war. They just used it in Lebanon a couple of months ago.
Oh, right. And so I have a question to you. Like, what do you think of how the media reacted regarding the Muslims? The Muslim issue regarding what the Pope said, Pope Benedict, and the media said, "Oh, look at the Muslims; they're all violent and all that."
Well, I'm really on this one. I'm really glad that the media they tried to inflame the situation, and but it did not work. I really think that issue is calming down a little bit, and the Pope went out in public and did very much explained that he did not really mean what he said, and that he has a very high respect to the Muslim religion. So I think that subject, thank God, we don't need any more. There's enough people out there who are trying to fuel this Muslim thing, and not unfortunately, fortunately, this one was diffused.
Yeah. And so, like, one last question: what do you think is going to happen? Like, you know, what's Israel's plan? Like they're going to obviously divide the West Bank, and like, are they waiting for some big plan to happen when the war in Iran happens or something?
Well, Ramsey, you know about this probably more than I do. History speaks for itself. I always use history as a litmus test. I still see the platform of the Israelis, and the platform is to basically genocide and clean out the West Bank from the Palestine. I'm sorry?
Ethnic cleansing.
Ethnic cleansing, exactly, and that's exactly what they want to do. Now, it might take them another 20 or 30 years, but eventually that's what they want to do. So I'm not very optimistic about anything. Condoleezza Rice was there yesterday, and you can tell from President Mahmoud Abbas' statements yesterday that it was written for him by Washington. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure out what's going on with the Palestinians. His statement was that we need to form a government that will be acceptable to the quartet and to the world community. Now, Will, when they say world community, they mean the United States and Israel. That's because that's right now is the world community in their opinion. So I really think what Condoleezza Rice is doing now in the Middle East, it's nothing more than just to basically get things away from, get attention away from the election. And they don't want any more disasters. They want to try to get their people back in the second term. And that's basically what they're trying to do, just distractors, that's all.
Yeah. And so, like, one last comment. Professor James Petrus, which you had on your show a couple of weeks ago,
yes.
He wrote an article called Challenging the Power of the Jewish Lobby and What Should Be Done on September 26,
yes,
2006. So I think appreciate it on your website so all the viewers would look at it, because it's really important.
Yes. Thank you, Ramsey.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Okay. All right. I think we, let's see, we go to Bonnie. Go ahead, Bonnie.
Yes, I just wondered if you had seen the latest article this week in Newsweek magazine about Woodward's book.
You know, I'm glad you mentioned Woodward's book. It's amazing the stuff, you know, everybody is getting on. You see, Woodward's books are published by a publisher who wants to make money. So they are making his book to be, that has a lot of secrets in it. George Tenet, when he told Condoleezza Rice, if anyone is watching this program, when we first talked about this was 3 years ago. And we mentioned,
what scared me the most in that entire article was President Bush's just total haphazard way of just saying things that are so scary. He slapped this guy, Jay Garner, on the back in one of their meetings, according to Woodward, and says, "Do you want to do Iran next?" I mean, can you imagine just being so callous and carefree about taking on such a big thing?
Right, yes.
I mean, it's like, it's a plan, and it's going to happen, and let's just do it. I mean, not considering consequences.
Right. Well, you know, unfortunately, our president, whom we will be calling him an emperor very soon, and we will be saying, long live the emperor. Unfortunately, Bonnie, I don't blame George Bush. I don't blame any of these people in Washington. We put them there, even though some people think he stole the election twice. I'll tell you what, if he's that good to steal the election twice from the American people, hey, look, we deserve it if we're that naive. If we are that idiotic and stupid, then he deserves that. You know what? I always believe you will have the leaders whom you deserve. And sending someone like Mark Foley, where the Christian right had applauded him for all these years and gave him millions of dollars, even after they knew that this man is a dangerous, he's a pedophile.
Yeah, and this just came out. And why hasn't Pat Robertson and Jerry Falwell and Bill Bennett and
what do you want them to say? What do you want them to say? Why haven't
they come out and said, this is appalling, this is horrible? I mean, they're supposed to represent the fundamental Christians.
Well, hey, look, they represent somebody, and I'm telling you, you know what, my statements tonight, we have the government that we deserve.
But you know what? It's getting to where I'm scared that even if we go vote, it's all been calibrated in the machine. So maybe we won't even have a voice there. I mean, that's not what we deserve, and it's not what we expect.
I understand.
But how are we going to stop that unless we have a separate little ballot box?
I'll tell you how.
We can drop our registered vote in that we know can be counted. I mean, it takes between 10 and 60 seconds for someone to sneak in there and calibrate that and hack that machine to calibrate numbers.
Well, that's not the problem, though, Bonnie. I mean, I understand that, and that is a real concern, but that's not the problem. When the constitutions and the founders of the constitutions, what they have done is they took democracy and chopped it up into little tiny pieces, and they gave each one of us a little piece. It's called a vote. Now, not everyone uses that little piece.
I know that.
Okay? When you think of, if we have 20% who go and vote on an election, that's the 20% who voted. And when you get a president or a congressman, that congressman does not only represent the 20% who went and voted, but also represents the 100%, the rest, the 80% who did not go to vote. Voting is an extremely important, and that's how we can solve the problem in this country. But right now, by voting, it's the system. We have created a system of corruption, and we are only going to get corrupt people. It doesn't matter as long as the average man out there thinking, oh, well, what my vote is going to do. As long as we have that mentality, we're going to continue having this type of leaders in the White House, these types of leaders in the Congress and in the Senate. It's only going, you see, to me, a vote is power.
It's precious.
Well, it's power. when 20% go to vote, or even 25 or even 30%, that means there is 70% of that power that is still out there, and whoever wins will end up taking that 70% power, and he will have a huge power. Why do you think this little boy who was on the internet talking with Mark Foley, what do you think he had in his mind? Probably he had in his mind that, whoa, this is a Congress with a lot of power. I can go into a lot of places. You know, I can be this, I can be that. You know, I'll graduate from high school, I'll go to college. I mean, that little boy had probably his whole life planned out and mapped out in his head, thinking that, you know, doesn't matter what I'm doing with this congressman, I am going to be somewhere because this man has power. This is the corruption, this is the power that we have, and this is the power that we need to get rid of. But it's not going to happen.
It's a regime change here we need.
We need a regime change, but we need the people have to wake up and change. We will not have a regime change here as long as 80% of the people don't care about politics. You know what I think? I think if the way to solve this hacking of the voting machines that's going on is a surprise attack by the voters, by so many going out, because they're going to calibrate what they think the turnout is going to be to override that vote in one direction. So they're going to punch in maybe, you know, let's call it 600 more votes or 6,000 more votes than they expect turnout, so their guy will win. But if it's a surprise kind of November where a lot of people go vote, they won't have expected that, and we can make a difference. You know, Bonnie, the way it works, and they understand the way it works, and we have seen how they understand the way it works. They've
got it down to fine art.
Exactly. They don't care about reaching out to all these voting machines or reaching out to all the counties and the parishes in the United States and all the states. No. They know exactly what they need. Like, for instance, take, you know, Louisiana for a congressman. He knows how many votes. He knows what parish he needs to get. Right. And he will just concentrate. If they can go in and either manipulate the voters or, like you're saying, whatever they can do just to get that vote, they know the other parishes, they are going to get that vote, so they only need that particular parish that they need. And to tell you the truth, I have been listening to our candidates, and I'm not endorsing anyone here, but I really like what Mike Stagg is saying, especially about the war.
So do I.
I'm sorry?
So do I.
Yes, and about the war. Now, I don't know I don't want anyone to think I'm a Republican, like most of you know. I have no idea why I'm still a Republican, because to tell you the truth, I haven't seen anything that this party has done good in the last God knows how many years, but I still say I'm a Republican. But anyhow.
You know, J.C. Watts, the former representative that's a Republican, was a representative in Congress. You know what he said today? He said he hoped the Republicans are beginning to seem like the only thing right is to get by, and the only thing wrong is to get caught.
Exactly.
That was a mouthful.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you what. I agree with him, because when this guy got caught, now this guy got caught not just now, not just recently.
No, it's been since '95. Since they've been knowing about it.
Exactly. And in 2001, as a matter of fact, they had warned the kids about him. Okay? But the thing is, we go back to, we have got to have a change in Congress. Is for anything else, if we, you know, I am all for the Democrats taking the House and taking the Senate. You know, if you look at, if you look at the United States, we only had stability and common sense when we had a Republican in the White House and a Democrat in both houses. That's when we had, because you have a balance there. But when you have, you know, look, the president went...
There's no checks and balances
There's no
anymore.
checks and balances. And when the president wanted to go and arrest anyone he wants to without showing a cause, he got a law to do it with. And now he has a law to do it. If he does not...
He keeps changing the rules and changing the laws to suit him.
Well, that's what a dictatorship do.
Exactly.
They come up with these laws. Don't, you know, I'll tell you what. This
it's really more like fascism.
Well, it is. It is fascism. It is dictatorship, it's fascism, it's exactly what was happening in Italy. It's exactly what was happening during World War II. It's exactly what was happening in the Soviet Union, just not recently.
And people are they're just so complacent and compliant, and they just let's go shopping and don't worry about all this.
Well, you know what?
This is their children's lives that they're
going to be worried about it very soon. Have you seen when you go even to the grocery store? You spend a lot more than what you used to 3 years ago.
On everything.
On everything. Because
not just groceries, on healthcare. 3 times the cost it was 6 years ago.
Everything. Now, I'm talking about groceries. Now, healthcare, forget about it. Other stuff, forget about it. Gas, forget about it. Now people say, oh, God, the gas, it's only $2.30. Well, yeah, a few months ago was, like last year or whatever, it was $1.29.
With an election, that happens just like with Bandor. That happened with Bandor for Bush to get reelected in 2004. He talked Prince Bandor to drop the oil prices until after the election.
Well, you see, now they have found a way.
By Woodward.
Bob Woodward, let me just spend the couple of minutes that are left here for Bob Woodward's book that everybody's thinking, whoa, when he came out with his first book, I forgot the name of it. I talked about it on this show.
Plan of Attack.
Yes, Plan of Attack. If I, sitting here in Lafayette, Louisiana, knew exactly what this war was all about and what he has in his latest book that everybody think, wow, this is secrets. It is not secrets. We talked about this stuff on the show right here. And Bob Woodward knew it. When he had his show, his book, Plan of Attack, he knew it. But they did not talk about this because it was not time for it. Now
you could find that. I remember finding that stuff on the BBC.
He can
in the UK.
Exactly.
About the 2 down the street memos.
I'll tell you what.
Fixing the intelligence. All that stuff we had access, but not in this country.
Yes. Bonnie, I appreciate it. I need to go to another caller.
All righty.
Thanks. Bye. Leo, go ahead. Leo, we have 2 minutes left, and you're spending most of it out. Come on. Okay.
I have a comment in regard.
Go ahead. We only have less than 2 minutes left.
In regard.
Listen, turn your TV down. Don't listen to me on the phone. Don't listen to me on TV. There's few seconds delay. Are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead.
I have a comment in regards to the issue that you were just talking about in reference to Republicans doing wrong or Democrats doing wrong. I have a comment.
You got 30 seconds to say it, and go ahead.
Okay. It's a sad thing when people that does wrong and people in their own party will not identify with it. And they will not. One of the reasons they will not identify with it, if there's a better person in the Democratic Party, you will not get Republicans to cross over and vote Democratic, even though the Democratic is a better person.
I'll tell you what, I am a Republican, and I will cross over and I will vote for somebody just to replace that somebody else that we have in Washington who's doing nothing but hurting this particular community. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm not endorsing anyone here, but yeah, I will cross over to the other party. Listen, we're out of time. I appreciate your call. Ladies and gentlemen, next week we will be here at 8 o'clock. We're going to have 2 guests. It's going to be extremely exciting. 8 o'clock, Thursday night. And if you have any comments about tonight, you can send us an email. So we will see you next Thursday. Good night.
Hello, I'm Jim Richard from Good